Happy Monday, everyone. This is IT Live, and it's brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm joined by Coach Dub and Eric. We are going to talk all the playoff arguments and Texas players we have to keep in the portal, and then whatever you guys want to discuss in the chat. But guess what? 50% off Cyber Monday, Black Friday into Cyber Monday. If you didn't make your move, make it now. For a whole year, 50% off, guys. Recruiting, team intel, analysis, all of that great stuff. We would love to see you over at InsideTexas.com. All right, gentlemen. First, I want to talk quick A&M win. Me and Eric did rewatch yesterday, so we got a bunch of our thoughts out, so you guys can watch that in totality as we talk through each position. But for me, I was telling guys before the show, I thought we were going to go 8-4 after I adjusted expectation, not preseason. 8-4, right? Is where I thought the team was. To finish 9-3, I actually was left with a good taste in my mouth and more optimistic than I thought I would be. So I'm kind of in a weird spot than other fans because I was more pessimistic. So I want to say that was awesome. How you beat A&M was awesome. It wasn't like there was no kind of doubt to it, right? Or like flukiness. So that was absolutely great. With the playoffs, we will argue that for the next, 20, 30 minutes. But I actually feel good, which is rare for me. Coach, we heard Eric a bunch and me. What did you think of the game?
Man, look, I was happy. I know Eric wrote about this, prior to the game. If anybody was on IT subscribed and look, he said they're going to keep things simple, right? Our defense didn't do anything special, man. Straight cover three, they just played their butts off, right? And to see them stop that offense, which I was worried about, pregame, was great, man. I was glad about the young secondary stepping up. Even when K. Phillips went out, Kobe Black came in. Warren Robinson came in. He didn't commit any penalties. Like, this team played hard, man. They beat A&M almost at the same game plan they had last year. Like, they can't stop the run because they can't stay in their gaps. So to see us actually stick with the run, see Arch continue to make his reads downfield, man, got him on some busted coverages. I was happy with the performance this past week or Friday. And so just to see these guys finish the season, keep little brother as little brother. It was a great win, a great team win, great in a great environment, man. The recruits loved it. Like, some of them said that's the loudest the stadium has been all year. Like, they've been some who've been to multiple games. Like, the crowd was electric, so everybody was into it. So I think it was a good win all the way around.
There were players that said that's the loudest they've ever heard it, and these are players like Mac era, Strong era, like the loudest ever. Which is, I can believe that it was coming through the TV perfectly. Eric, quick thoughts.
I rewatched it last night, the second half, just for pure entertainment purposes, and that stood out to me was the crowd. I didn't really pick up the crowd in real time because you're just so intent on the game. But man, watching the replay and just kind of trying to take it all in, it was really loud. Yeah, the keep it simple, stupid really helped out. It seemed like, especially with the younger DBs that were out there playing, I was really proud of them. That game almost got really out of hand for A&M, except for that McDonald penalty that extended that drive, and they punched it in. That was unfortunate. But I loved it. I didn't write it at halftime because I thought I was going to get slayed in the comments. But I was going to say, hey, this feels a lot like the OU game because, it felt like Texas was starting to take control. And they just, A&M didn't really seem to have anything that was confusing Texas defensively. That's really where it came down to, because I felt Arch and the offense were going to put up enough points. And like we talked about in that video yesterday, just watching Arch finding different ways to win was important too. He was off a little bit to start, but he can still get you with his legs. And, the pocket presence, that throw he had to Andrews where he evades the free rusher, which he had done all year, which you just don't see many quarterbacks do. And then he resets. It looks like, it was a teach tape. I'm with you. Like my expectations dropped, after OU. I was thinking, okay, let's see how this next game, how they show up against Kentucky is going to tell us everything we need to know. And they look terrible, and they struggled against Mississippi State. At that point, you're like, oh my God, November's going to be ugly. And other than one quarter against Georgia, November wasn't ugly at all.
Yeah. That's why I ended on a positive note, because it was not looking pretty there for a while. Quick question. Does Connor Robertson come back?
Man, I don't know why he wouldn't. He waited all this time to play. I think he was a little bit down, like a lot of young players are when they're not starting. He had majors in front of him forever, and then Hudson got to start this year. I don't know why he wouldn't be back. I wrote about my must-keep list, who I think that they need to get back no matter what. And I had Connor Robertson or Daniel Cruz. They do need to keep a center. Obviously, I think they need to find a center in the portal as well, or a guard center, somebody that can play either one. But, yeah, we want Connor Robertson back.
Yeah. Well, I think people because he walked on senior night, but I was like, he's not going pro. So like, where's he?
No, Hero Canoe walked on senior night. It's just if you're considered a senior academically, you walk. It's not about your football status.
Cool. All right. Playoff arguments. It's been fun. It's been enjoyable. I think ultimately because everyone kind of has a point. Like even when you're pro Texas and negative Texas, like the counters are strong on both sides. So that's why I think it's interesting. Ultimately, what I think the committee is going to do, absolutely leave Texas out. But we got to start. We got to start politicking for the gang.
Well,
so what are the pros here?
Ian's free article. Everybody needs to go read Ian's free article. Go to the front page and just scroll around and you'll find it. Ian's case for 9-3 Texas. It's for the integrity of the game. It's for what's best for the game. Is you want these non-conference headline games to be scheduled, and if not, if you get punished for playing them, then people are going to quit scheduling them. He made a very good observation comparing it to boxing. Which how many times everybody in here's been roped into a boxing match at some point that you thought was going to be great because they overhype it and all that, and it just fizzled out. The real boxing matches never took place. The best ones, or you never got them in their prime. They had to be broke or something, and then they finally get it. Yeah, we got Holyfield Tyson way late. Part of that was Tyson, being locked away for a bit. But a lot of those fights never manifest until they're out of their prime. Here you have college football, which needs to be more like UFC. Texas scheduling, Notre Dame, Michigan, Ohio State. It's how Dana White got UFC to overtake boxing in popularity. So it's just for the integrity of the game. And yeah, it's good for what's TV. It's good for the sport. And so that's to me is the best case. Ian laid it out very eloquently. And I don't think it's going to go that way because we so often reduce everything in the society in the most simplest terms. 3 losses is more than 2. And that's good enough for most people, I guess.
Yeah. And then the argument is you guys weren't held out for Ohio State. You were held out for losing to Florida.
Okay, but I've got the response to that. Sorry, Charlie, I know it's your turn. The response to that is if 5 teams get in, go by the SEC rankings then. And Texas would still be in, and OU would be out. So if you want to make that argument, then there that is. If you had 5 auto bids from the SEC ranked on the actual conference ranking, Texas would be in and OU would be out. So we can have
Lando had a good point too. Lando said, sorry, Coach. Lando just said, Texas has lost, I don't know how many games in the past 2 years. It's Ohio State and Georgia. So, penalizing Texas for a one-off game in 2 years with Florida too is an interesting point. Sorry.
All right. So do you punish Alabama, right? They lost to Florida State at the beginning of the season, right? Like they lose their 3rd game in the championship. Are they out? Do you punish Ole Miss for losing half their head coach and their staff like you punished Florida State a few years ago for losing a quarterback? You didn't put them in the playoffs even though they were undefeated. Like, what is the community really looking at? Like, you got a lot of ways you can go with this. I know Nash posted a video of Sark saying at the beginning of the season that this game the Ohio State game wouldn't affect Ohio State or Texas, right? For scheduling, it shouldn't. He said at the beginning of the season. So, like, people are bringing it up. Like, man, you played number one team after week 2, who's been number one team, for the rest of the year. So how do you punish Texas for that? And Florida ended up, winning a few more games. So it's not like they're the same 3-8 team. Like the 3-win team at the time, I guess, when we played them. So like, they got better. So if you look at the strength of schedule, everybody who's played who, like there's an argument there.
Yeah, Alabama loses to OU at home, which is crazy. Texas beats OU convincingly at a neutral site. There's a lot of different ways to look at it. I think everybody's a lot of us are kind of rallying around Ole Miss. If Texas can't get in, I think I'm going to be rooting for them just because of the circumstances they're in. But I thought about the same thing Charlie did. This is what's the likelihood that Pete Golding leads Ole Miss to the national title? I mean, it's the other frustrating part for Texas fans is you can see that they could beat just about anybody. They should have beaten Ohio State. The talent is there to compete at the highest level. They'd be favored against half of the bracket on a neutral site. So that's another case, right? BYU, who's BYU going to be favored over? Give me a break. They don't belong anywhere near the playoffs. People are talking about Miami. Miami's not even the ACC championship game. Give me a break. This is a lot of stupid stuff going around. Now I'm starting to get Texas should be in the playoffs.
I wonder who you're a fan of, Eric. All right. So here's what I thought. The only thing that I thought was really questionable was them letting Michigan jump like that. with a Maryland win, like that was strange to me because they're clearly trying to position them that if they beat Ohio State, they're in, right? Well, they don't. So that one to me was suspicious. And then you can argue Texas versus Vanderbilt. We know what's up there, but then you go to the loss. Well, they have one less lot. Well, they didn't play as good. So it's like, but this is just going to go round and round forever. Yep. And look, Texas doesn't have a ton of support. That's part of being a firebrand too, right? Like if this was 9-3 Texas and we say it was Kentucky, everyone would love it. You know, they're like, look at the underdog. They played such a tough schedule. There's a reality to being a Texas fan too, right? Because anytime you make an argument pro Texas, all of OU and A&M Twitter show up, right? And no, you shouldn't. It's like, well, I wonder where you're coming from that. And so that's going to be kind of the tricky part. But what's frustrating is the beginning of the year, everyone was priming for this. Can a 9-3 SEC team get in? We should really honor strength of schedule and strength of record if you play a hard record. But as soon as Texas does that, then that argument goes out the window for everyone. You know, and they're no longer, even though preseason, everyone was advocating for that because it could have potentially been their team. But once it's not their team and it's Texas, they kind of just let go. I do think it's interesting with an Alabama loss because it's like, should you punish them for being the SEC championship? And generally, I would say no. But Texas, then they beat Georgia once, so I don't know how you cancel it out. But the real practical difference in facing a top team in the season versus the championship is not actually that crazy, right? Like Texas gets dropped significantly for losing to Georgia. And I think this is one of the points against Texas. If you lose to Georgia by 3, it's a lot different. But you basically got skunked at the end of that game. And that had a huge factor too, because Texas actually had crept back up in striking range prior to Georgia. Right. If we would have just played that game close, they wouldn't have just plummeted us again, but they punished Texas. Like every time preseason #1 hype, Ohio State, they didn't really punish Texas for that. That's fine. You lose to Florida, they just drop you completely out of the rankings. Bad boy, right? And then you start winning some more, and they're giving you a little bit of hope back again, and then you get skunked by Georgia. So Texas, they did let us back in the mix several times, and Texas didn't perform. There's a difference to me if you lose to Georgia by 3. How we lost to Georgia, if you're actually looking at the recent polls where we were, all that stuff at that point, that was kind of the nail in the coffin was how we lost that.
Hey, question to that. Did the committee say style points didn't matter from the beginning? That wasn't a factor in? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, but with the human side, it's impossible, right? If you see someone lose, in a boxing match, let's use Ian's analogy, they get outscored and by 1, or they just get KO'd. You're going to feel differently about that fighter regardless. And Texas got KO'd by Georgia at the end there. So there's just that reality to it too. I really think the truly biggest factor wasn't Ohio State or even Florida. It was how we lost to Georgia at that point in time after they let us creep back in and then we got punished. So that to me was kind of the true moment here. The team that we don't really talk about that much in the mix, but we'll have to see. I do want to see, barely in the AP or whatever. We barely move up for beating A&M. But once again, when Michigan beat Maryland, they flew them up the ranks. So it's like, okay, well, what are we doing there? Because y'all were trying to get Michigan in clearly and not us.
Yeah. Woodcrest here says if a 5-loss Duke team can get in if they win the ACC on Saturday, and I want that, definitely want that.
Yeah, here's the thing. These group of 5s, get them out of here. That makes no sense. They're not favored versus anybody. Put them in their own league, man. Like, give them a real shot at
Duke's not even group of 5. They're just a terrible team that has a chance to make it.
No, but I'm saying it's the same thing where you're letting these teams because of technicalities, right? Like, Duke can technically get in because of how the ACC is structured. The G5 just gets in because we have a spot for G5, right? So it's like, get rid of these gamified versions if it's really to get the best teams in the playoffs. Here's the reality with Texas. I don't think they're good enough to make a serious run. I think Texas can win almost any individual matchup that day. But when you're stringing together 2, 3, 4 of them, that's where I just don't trust Texas as one of the most penalized teams. And
but it also depends on the draw. Look how Penn State last year had an easy draw to the semis. It just kind of depends on who you get.
I guess that's why I'm not that bummed about it because Texas to me is not going to win the national championship, and that's how I feel about A&M and OU as well. That's why it doesn't. I mean, it's annoying, but it doesn't sting because I don't think those guys have what it takes after playing both of them to really do it. So that's where it's kind of like I want to get in the playoffs for our job to cover more games. That's awesome, right? For the players, for the fans, that kind of stuff. But I'm really not devastated by not making it because I think getting a jump on the competition in the portal to me is kind of priority number one.
I'm with Blake in that I think Blake Bryant here says he thinks Texas could absolutely be a Final Four team. I think Texas could find their way there.
Yeah, how many rounds is that?
Two.
Two.
Yes,
One of them.
I think Texas can string together two. It's more like when you get into the three and stuff. I think our inconsistencies would catch us.
Or as Blake continues to say, just basically until they meet Georgia or Ohio State again.
Yeah, you can draw OU and A&M again. Yeah, I think you can beat both those teams. You can beat a lot of those teams.
Texas Tech, you're going to beat Texas Tech. Give me a break.
It will be interesting to watch. Most likely that we're out just to get to watch as a fan, because you have to. That will be interesting, but we'll see. And then OU's like kind of stumping because they're worried if Alabama wins, but I don't get why they're worried about that because they would still be in, right? I don't see how they won't make it.
OU's kind of in the spot that Texas was until OU beat Alabama. They look like they've got a grip on 5. They just needed to go to 5.
Yeah. It's this argument will rage on, and I think this is who was it Ole Miss last year that had the same argument.
They tried to make it, but they lost to Kentucky.
Yep.
but we lost to Florida, and so it's like that's the problem. So to me, this is just the Ole Miss argument, and I didn't feel that bad for Ole Miss last year. So I'm trying to relate. Outside of being a Texas fan.
I don't think Ole Miss didn't have any wins though. I mean, Texas beats OU. Texas has wins over at least 2 playoff teams. Vanderbilt might get in.
And the LSU stat, right? The most top 10 wins. Like, you think that's got to count for something, but once again, guys, there's just the reality of being a Texas fan. No one's going to hear that. Like, that's what sucks. Yep. It's I can't remove that bias because everyone just hates Texas, so it's kind of tricky. We have to be undeniable, or else we will get denied, type of thing.
Hate us.
Yeah, we just did not have the chaos that we needed. One of the first comments in the thread today was, "What a great weekend, man! It was a great Friday. It was a terrible Saturday."
Yeah, I was watching OU LSU. Dude, OU was here. You go LSU. Would you like to win? Here you go LSU. Would you like to win? Just like 7 times, and LSU was like, not feeling it. We're good.
Yeah,
that one was brutal. Like any team with a pulse, like any offense would have won that game. And then I turned Alabama Auburn off and started going about my business. And then I was on Twitter and I was like, oh, we got tied up again. And I really just kind of signed back on in time for Cam Coleman's fumble, which is really brutal.
Yeah, that was brutal, man.
But it's all right, Cam. We forgive you over here, brother. You can come on over. But that, yeah,
value less just a little bit.
Yeah. But to me, man, I'm in a good place without the playoffs. That wasn't really a factor. I hadn't even paid attention to the rankings because I didn't even know if we were even going to have an argument for it. So I don't know. I'm still happy.
Yeah, right after that last game, I put that's that. Where Texas is out. That's my default. I don't see Texas anyway getting in the playoffs. So, and that ties into what I wrote this morning. It's got to be a December to remember. And yeah, I was thinking about the Lexus advertisement when I said that. My wife's been joking about a Christmas present.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now that allows them full focus on a very, very, very important December for Sark. You can win championships in December. Ohio State won their championship the previous December when they got it December and January. When they got everybody back, they hit the portal. They signed Jeremiah Smith. There's this time period is crucial for Texas. For next season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that. Let's get a head start. There's so many guys hitting the portal left and right. You can go fill all the holes you need. Bring in a bunch of guys back that guys who can get an extra year of experience. I think, man, you can really, really build something special. So let's get a head start. I'm with it.
Yep, got to have retention. Got to have some tough conversations with some players, and then all these coaches that just got their job yesterday. That portal for their school is they're working furiously on the phones with players and agents trying to keep all their guys in the boat. We'll see who actually goes in the portal when their window's open in 5 days.
Well, that's a good cliffhanger, guys, because that's what we're going to talk about for the remainder of the show. But first, the holiday season is here, and Academy Sports and Outdoors has the legendary gifts you need at undefeatable prices every day. Shop in-store or online at academy.com to save on gifts on everybody's list. From football jerseys and basketball hoops to fire pits and deer stands, the most wonderful time of the year happens here. This Christmas, give the gift of fun from Academy Sports and Outdoors. Thank you, Academy. All right, gentlemen. Okay. We mentioned at the top the best worst case scenario. What does that actually mean? So this is why I'm good with not making the playoffs. I want to be plotting on everybody. I want to be, remember last year, and Eric knows better than anybody how intense it got when you're in the playoffs trying to defend your team and get guys. And it felt a little bit like, that weight on us in the portal too with our strategy. But I want to have this full month with whoever we play for the playoffs. I think we're projected for the
Citrus Bowl is what I've seen.
The Cheez-It Citrus Bowl versus Michigan.
Yeah.
Michigan. Who I don't want to play, man. Honestly, I think that's a boring team. Like, I get that they're a big brand, but it's like, I've played Michigan. I get it. Like, I've watched them enough. It's a good brand, but I'm just like, man, I want to play someone that we haven't repeatedly played over and over. But that's going to be the factor for me. Eric, we're going to get into your piece about who we need to keep. But first, let's talk about our outward strategy of what we need to do in talent acquisition using this month too.
Yeah, this month, Sark has pretty much 4 things that are on the docket. First, he has to close up the recruiting class this week, which there's a lot of fans, worried about the slow finish in high school recruiting. Who cares? Money's finite. They've got a lot bigger needs in portal. They've got to go all in for 2026. Just close out the class that you already have committed. They're probably going to lose Vodney Cleveland. Price of doing business. UNC has bigger needs. They can offer more money. Texas doesn't have the same needs as they do. So that's part of it, man. So close out the recruiting class, but keep in mind that, hey, that's not nearly as important as portal for 2026. Now, they've got to go big in 2026. It's Arch's last year. 2027, they're going to be breaking in a new quarterback anyway, so you're going to take a step back. That's when you start caring about high school recruiting a little bit more. So they've got to be focused 100% on portal needs. Sark also has to worry about his own roster, right? If you have a lot of needs, we call them imports, you've got to have some exports too to make room for the new guys. So there's going to be a lot of tough negotiations, conversations. As Texas Beat 62 says, need to renegotiate some of these wide receiver contracts. It's not even wide receiver contracts. It's any player that's not living up to what the market value is. And everybody's going to have a different one. But Texas has a really good feel for what the value of these guys are. And there's going to be a surprise or two. Fans are going to be like, what the heck, man? Why'd they lose him? But it would probably all be in the master plan. A couple of those guys probably need to go, not just wide receiver, but a couple other places too. So that's part of it. And then, Sark also has to figure out what he's going to do with his coaches. That's not the most pressing thing right now. That can always come after the bowl if he wishes. But it's got to be on his mind. He's got to have a plan. He's probably got to be back channeling guys. There's so much coaching turnover. You don't want one of your top targets to take a job right now.
Yep.
If you're just going to come looking for him in a month. So that's got to be on the forefront of his mind. And then you do have bowl prep. I want them to go get that 10th win. 10 wins in a down season where you beat OU, you beat A&M, you beat Arkansas, and we're calling that a 10-win. That a bad season. That's testament to how high Sark has raised the bar. The standard at Texas is very high when 10 wins is considered a down season. So
yeah.
In a roundabout way, Sark will deserve some credit for keeping the team on the tracks. And a third 10-win season in a row, man, that's a recruiting pitch right there. Yeah,
10 wins is the floor. All right, fine.
Yeah, I was saying the same thing. Look, go get your Mac Brown special, man. 10 wins is huge. I think we know about the bowl games. You get your young guys a lot of prep, a lot of time. Man, Sark's plate is full. Like, how do you manage all that and then trying to manage who's leaving, who's not leaving as far as, your coaching staff and whatever. You got so much to manage and so much to go through. You got kids being pulled in different directions. That's the bad thing. You got these agents, you got these uncles or whoever you want to call them, like pull these kids. Oh, you can go here and get more money. You can do this. It's like trying to manage all that in one. Like, you got to have a strong team or whoever Sark trusts inside that building, support staff, whatever. Everybody got to work together. Like, look, This is where we're at. This is the need. Let's go through this board. Let's have these tough conversations. If this kid has to go, he just has to go. Who can we replace him with, right? And then, what guys are going to come in ready? We need ready-made players from the portal. We don't need any more development of guys. They got to come in. They got to be like day one starters, or at least push the talent in the room to where they can play. So you got so much to manage and try to get a hold to. And then, like you said, high school recruiting, it's on the back burner. It's not, but it is. Hey, these guys coming in 26th class, some of them can play, some of them maybe can't, right away. Like you look at, like Jermaine Bishop. How do you get him on the field? Like, because he's a star, right? So, who do you need to bring in via portal, via high school, and then rank them where, hey, developmental, I need you right away because I'm losing so many players. And so, like I said, Sark's plate is full, man. That's a tough job.
Well, it's also this fine line, and I've said this, and people push back, but I feel strongly that this is a factor, so I'm going to keep stating it. You change so many variables, you can end up rebuilding. Okay, so just be wary of that, So it's like you're going to have to lose coaches. I'm interested to see if the scheme changes on defense because that cover 3 was killing us, or if it was that purely coaching of the cover 3, right? There's nothing inherently wrong with the scheme, but maybe some potential scheme tricks, and then enough on portal. Now, teams have proven you can bring in portal guys and still function. So it's not like the whole old mindset of like your culture is going to change, but like we said, that's a very full plate of things to focus on. And so you also have to be cognizant of like, we don't really have another year to quote unquote rebuild or something like that with Arch leaving too. So there's a lot of these variables and they have to kind of click together rather fast because you're going to play Ohio State again next year. That game's not getting canceled, even though fans want it. So if they are going to punish you for playing hard games, we know that you need to beat Ohio State next year. That'll be the big thing. So just,
one thing that Sark has going for him is he's not going to lose as many guys to the NFL as he did the last 2 years. You've still got NFL talent. They're just a year behind. They're just a year younger. So you're going to lose Anthony Hill. You're going to lose Malik Muhammad. Maybe they can keep Jelani McDonald. McDonald did not have a great second half of the season. Maybe that would be big, but outside of that, they're not going to lose a ton of guys. They're not going to lose a number one wide receiver. They got guys looking to grow into that role, and maybe they actually go out and get a really good wide receiver. Maybe not somebody that looks like an obvious number one now, but will once spring reports start coming out. The needs are not there's a lot of them, but it's more doable than I think a lot of people realize.
Cool. Yeah, that's going to be, and it's not a coincidence, right? Texas struggles in the year when we're not losing a lot of guys to the NFL, right? So it's like we also know that the reality is you need NFL players.
Yeah, and then next season they could have number 1 and number 2 in the draft.
Yeah.
Let's get this Utah horn one out of the way because I'm going to get asked that about 15 times over the next couple of weeks.
Eric, are you confident?
Yeah.
Eric, how confident are you that Texas goes all in for 26 like Ohio State did the previous season?
First of all, you have to kind of look at the confluence of factors they had. They had ideal conditions. A lot of those guys were really talented, but more like second rounders, third rounders. So they were easier to talk back in to come back and become a first round draft pick. They had that's just they're starting off with a better situation than Texas is right now. They don't have that many guys on the cusp. Malik Muhammad has been a pro since he was a junior in high school, man. I said the day he committed, he's going to be a 3-year player, and he's going to be a 3-year player. Anthony Hill, 3-year player. So those guys are not coming back. That's unfortunate. So that way it's not nearly as similar to Ohio State. That's what they did great. Texas has to go to the portal harder than that Ohio State team. Ohio State's biggest issues that year, obviously they had to go get a quarterback, Will Howard. They got the running back from Ole Miss. They had retention. That's what they had going for them. Texas doesn't quite have the retention ability to reach what they did. Texas has to go to the portal a lot harder. Now I'm confident they're going to be aggressive. I know they're going to be aggressive to fix the offensive line, but you're also somewhat beholden to what goes into the portal. I think they are going to be aggressive. I can't compare them to Ohio State because Ohio State had a number of things working in their favor that Texas doesn't quite have.
And the money's different now, right? With the cap and all of that. So even like the financial situation,
the cap is just from the school. You can still have third-party NIL that can bridge that gap. There's not really much any different. Did
Ohio State have to use that, or were they able to just use their own booster money on that?
It was just that was just regular NIL.
Okay.
But the money's money. If it's got $25 million to spend, you got $25 million to spend. Kid doesn't care where it comes from. So that's where they're at. Now, you can still put together a really good defense. I think the defense can afford to be, 15 in the country. They don't have to be top 2 or 3, but the offense absolutely has to light it up next year. They've got to have a run game that isn't sparked by Arch Manning. Sark should be absolutely livid. He's losing his streak. He loved this damn streak of 1,000-yard rushers. He loved talking about Trey Wisner being the only returning 1,000-yard rusher, and all this stuff. And it didn't even come close. I think Trey has like 600 yards. So he needs a really big bowl game if he's going to extend that streak from Sark.
Yeah, that is devastating for Sark. That was one of his favorite talking points. But it was also a point that I was trying to make last year. Like, well, backs are good because we have a 1,000-yard rusher. And I'm like, a lot of that's offensive line, guys. It's not inherent running back ability there. But
yeah. You didn't know what you were getting back in back, so you thought he'd be healthy, right? You thought he'd not be a shell of himself, but sometimes you just don't come back from injury the same way.
For sure. All right, let's get into who are must keeps. Now, this is not who we like and who we'd like to keep. This is like, hey, the boat's sinking. What are we grabbing right now? Kind of a style.
This is my list too. I'm not saying I got this from any sourcing or anything like that. So if you're a parent watching this, don't go calling the staff.
This is from Sark directly, handed down to Eric. And we are
in a golden scroll.
Yeah. All right, so we have quarterback here. We're going to keep Arch Manning. I agree with this one, Eric, for sure. And then KJ Lacey.
Got to keep Arch. I think they're going to do it. I mean, was anybody celebrating harder than Cooper Manning in the stands the other night? I mean, I love that family, man.
And I love he's not in the press box, right? He could be chilling, and he's like, I want to be in the stands.
Yeah, he could be in the suite. I was thinking that too. He could be in any suite in that stadium that he wants to be. He's just a normal guy. I've had a million friends run into him just out and about. Everybody loves him. And then KJ Lacey. KJ's the leader in the clubhouse to be the backup next year. Now they probably still need to go portal. That's not really what this article is about. It's who they have to keep. But KJ's got a good chance to be the backup. So obviously he needs to be back. He's a good player.
And he had some good reps too, right?
Yeah, he did.
I agree. Running back, Trey Wisner and Ryan Niblett. And this one's where you have to kind of say, like, yes, I would like to retain these certain players or whatever. Trey, to me, is an absolute keep.
Yeah.
Tandem with the number one running back. Like,
yeah. So this goes back to something I said. I wrote a lot during the Herman and Strong years. Is you've got to get these guys in their NFL fit. Trey's NFL fit is third down back, blitz pickup, screen pass out of the backfield, special teams ace. That's what his NFL fit is. So that's what his college fit needs to be too. Got to go to the portal. I think that's obvious. Ryan Niblett, I think people are coming after Ryan Niblett. And he might be receptive because he doesn't have the biggest role on standard down on offense, right? So he doesn't have a carved out role. Does he want to be a wide receiver, running back? What is it? He's a little bit of everything at Texas, but they still don't use it a ton. So I think schools are going to come after him, but I want him back just because he's got speed. He changed 3 games in a row for Texas this season. Yeah. His plus minus was huge. If we actually track plus minus in football, he'd have a big one. So got to get Niblett back in my estimation. But it's gonna. He also does good stuff on coverage teams too. So got to get him back. But I know schools are going to be coming after him.
Before I even saw you write this article, I was literally, as I was going to sleep, I was going through the roster on who I wanted to keep. And running back was one of the toughest rooms for me because I was like, well, you want to keep James Simon. Like that's a dub. But Christian Clark, it's tricky because I'm just a Christian Clark fan. I loved his tape in high school. Yeah. And so to me, it's like, look, you keep James Simon, you give Christian Clark an extra year, and you see what goes on there. And then, there's one player that I'm not mentioning that, for a reason. So running back was probably the most difficult room for me.
I almost put James Simon in there, but the breaking point for me was, man, true freshman running backs play all the time. Texas had a massive hole and they still didn't play him. So, maybe that's on coaching. That could be a coach's decision. Obviously, these guys aren't infallible. I do like James Simon. Hope he stays. I like Christian Clark. Hope he stays. But as far as have to keep, it's a little different conversation.
Yeah, that's why that room was easily the toughest when I was thinking through it. Coach.
2 best special teams players right there. So, yeah, you got to keep those guys. They provide so much to the team outside of just playing the running back position.
Wide receiver. This room was fun too. And
hey! I got a Derek Cooper question. Could Cooper have an instant impact? While we're talking about running backs, I don't think he will have an instant impact, because I'm not sure how natural of a running back he is as far as reading gaps and playing off his blocks and feel, balance, vision, all those things that go into making a running back. Some of these running backs are downright special without being truly special athletes in the conventional sense. Like Emmitt Smith is just the guy that just got pinballed all over the place, was quick, low center of gravity, hard to tackle. Cooper is a beautiful athlete. He's fast, he's strong, he's long, he's all these things. He can play linebacker. He's a stud athlete. I don't know that he's a natural running back that should be expected to come in and have a big impact, especially after a season where we saw a natural running back like James Simon, who is a natural running back, I think, feet, vision, balance, all that good stuff, didn't play a lot. So I've been going back and forth on Cooper. I want him in the class. It's pricey though to have him on the bench if he's not ready to go early on. That's kind of the trade-off there.
Running back's becoming a portal position to me. And so it's like just what we've seen, man. There are G5 core running backs, the UNT back, the San Antonio UTSA back. Like there's backs in the state right now that can ball from the lower levels. And so, putting a lot of money on the bench if they're not going to show up for 2 or 3 years, it's just the market's kind of changing in how I think about the running back position.
Unless you put Cooper in a position where, hey, look, we're going to actually run gap scheme and just let him hit the hole and go give him just a few plays a game. I mean, he could be a game changer, but like you said, it's a lot to learn.
Yeah, I've got eligibility too.
Yeah,
I've got 4 years.
He's debating going to the gym today, so he might see that beautiful athleticism.
I'm wearing my hat. Shout out to Spring Fitness as a way to call myself out because I don't feel like going. So after staring at this hat for an hour, I'm going to have to go.
Yeah, Baugh is the guy from Arkansas would be my second pick. Yeah, and for sure, I would take some of the best running backs in the country. But the guy from Arkansas, it was from New Mexico State.
Yeah.
Ahmad Hardy was ULM.
They're out there.
They're out there, man, and some of them are out there in Texas. So that's where we got to figure it out.
That Michigan State kid went in the portal yesterday, Mekhi Frazier. He's from the same high school as Xavier Filsaime. So if Texas wanted to take a 2-back portal class, that guy would probably be worth at least a look. Numbers are going to be important. How many do they take? Because that defines whether or not you have to be patient and wait, right? Until you find that guy. If you're taking 2, you could be a little bit more aggressive, grab a guy early, set the floor, then hope a better guy comes in and set the ceiling. But right now I'm thinking 1 running back. So you got to hit on that.
I agree. Wide receiver, this was a room that I had to think through a lot too. And ultimately Eric came up with the exact same list from my pre-bed routine last night. So, yeah.
So you're the meme while you're laying in bed with your wife. She's like, yeah. I bet he's thinking about other women. It's like your thought cloud is he.
I was literally going through position by position on who like we must keep. And she's one of those people that like head hits the pillow out. It takes me at least 2 hours to fall asleep. So I'm always just thinking about something. And normally it's anxiety provoking, but
a lot of us go through positions and
I am the meme of that. So wide receiver, I agree. I still think you need a more sure thing because a lot of this is still if this happens, if that happens. I want less ifs and less projection.
I think they need upside here. I think they need a slot guy or a guy that can move around. Really, Sark doesn't care necessarily as much about a rigid fit to a position. But obviously, they got asked a lot about why I don't have DeAndre Moore on there. DeAndre Moore he's a capitalist. That guy likes to go out and get the best deal. I think Texas, if he tries to drive a hard bargain, I think Texas can use that money elsewhere. And maybe a guy that's not as well known or hasn't been as productive to this point, but has significant upside. We need somebody that goes over the top that can separate. I think I like what they've got in Livingston and Emmett Mosley as high floor guys that still have red zone potential, or even in Parker's case, I think he's got vertical potential. Hell, Emmett Mosley dusted a guy the other day, Arch didn't hit him. I think they've got the sure-handed guys in Livingston, Emmett Mosley, certainly Khalil Lock and Dalen McCutcheon profile of that. Wingo's a little bit hit or miss. But they need a guy. I want somebody that's 6 foot 190, can play inside, outside, and can take the top off.
or you want Cam Coleman, but nah, here comes too much. But yeah, I'm with you as far as receiver. I think a lot of those guys are going to grow up. I think the more time Arch gets with Mosley, Wingo's like he's going to be better than he was this year. It was like they got a good group of guys. Unless he's like a true number one guy, I think this group has a chance to be good. I think a lot of people sleeping on him just because the early struggles, but man,
I mean,
they look good later in the season, middle of the season, all the way to the end.
We still didn't see the best of them because there's no pass pro. They couldn't take the deep shots. Fans love the big ball, the deep shot, and that's what they remember. We didn't see enough of that because pass pro wasn't there. As to Justin Wells here, this is the inside joke from inside Texas. No, my evaluation here, I'm not saying he's right at all because I think DeAndre Moore is a good player. I'm talking economics, not football.
Yeah.
RIP
was. All right. I still want a good player here that I know what I'm looking like, even regardless of all of this. I still, and can it be a golden thing, and not golden like, hey man, can you find me a secret first rounder? Because that's not very likely, right? But somebody that's just consistent like that. I don't care about the draft profile, but I would take one more than I'm more, and it can't be a break the bank, sexy name that you're paying $2 million for because of the economics. But I want one more here for sure, and but I want it to be kind of a smart grab at that position.
The economics actually work in Texas's favor if Moore seeks highest bidder, then whatever he would have made, that's now you're only looking for on top of that whatever the difference is. I don't know what the difference would be, but it's not like a full. They're not going to go out and get $2 million, spend $2 million on Cam Coleman, but they can get a damn good receiver for pretty much more. Well,
hey, then go get him. Quentin, we played the I like our guys game already. Hit the portal for wide receiver. I don't like the with Arch. I want no question. And it's not even on defense. It's like I just want the offense to be. I feel good about it. I don't want to be next August like, man, if this player takes a leap, I just want to be like, let's ride. All right. Before we keep going, though, guys, let's hear a word from Andre the Lawyer.
Texans know when you're injured, there's one name that gets results. Andre the Lawyer. Trust the team that has secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans win their injury cases. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, wrongful deaths. Don't let the insurance companies tell you what your claim is worth. Andre the Lawyer will fight for you. His principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait. Call 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. Contact info is in the description.
Eric and I have very similar thinking here. These are the tight ends. Jack Injuries, who I think got a raw deal schematically. You couldn't really go 12 personnel because of our inability. And if you notice the two games, we were like, we're really going to target injuries. Can't remember if earlier in the season, was it Sam Houston or San Jose State? Yeah, San Jose State, where they targeted him a lot and he balled and then disappeared. And then they target him a lot versus A&M and he balls. So it's like, to me, I have no problem with Jack Injuries as the player. I like Jack Injuries. Oh, yeah. I just think we gave him kind of a raw deal on usage. So I absolutely want Jack Injuries back.
Yeah, he got another year. Yeah, get him. You got a young one. Young ones to me. You saw Nick Townsend, like the more he played, the better he got. I think he's like the most physical blocker we might have in the tight end room, and he blows people up. Then he got the chance to get him an end around and score. He may be the best power back on the team too. But I don't know, man. Before Winston, I guess suffered some injuries or whatever the case, man. I thought he was like progressing very well. So they got a lot of talent in this room, and bringing Injuries back for another year. I think those three, man, that's the perfect. Maybe you can go grab a guy in the portal if you need to, unless Jordan Washington, Spencer Shannon become what you expected them to be. Other than that, though, I like this group of three here.
The bigger question, well, first of all, when I think about Nick Townsend, I think about his first play of the season and his the carry, which was one of his last plays of the regular season. He's coming across the formation with his hair on absolute fire. And against Ohio State, he just lays into the defensive end. This is his first career college snap, and this guy's going up against Ohio State and lays into the D end. It's a thing of beauty. And then, 12 games later, here he is getting the ball on a call, one of Sark's best calls of the year. It caught everybody by surprise. I love that guy, man. He's a full 100% football player, big picture guy, hard worker, God, just a stud. The big question for the offseason is just going to be, what are they going to do in 12 personnel next year? Because we know Sark has this thing for it. It's not going to just go away. He goes to bed at night thinking about 2 tight ends. Can Jordan Washington or Spencer Shannon be the reliable blocker that they should be based on their size? I don't know. If not, they've got to hit portal for a big brutish guy.
Dude, I was going to say, who you need to bring in is a idiot numbskull caveman from Eastern Montana State Technical College, and you need to pay him $45, and you can just feed him from anger. That's what you need, man, is like a real psycho in the room. Also to kind of raise the toughness of the tight ends too, like in practice. You want him hitting and setting that bar. That's what you need. I don't need another pass catcher, a big wide receiver. Nick Townsend shows that. That's why I love Nick. As being an athlete, but why I truly love him is because he's smacking dudes. And if you want to be a true 12 personnel team like we saw with Georgia, your guys can catch, but they need to be able to block too. So just bring in a no name that's just known for smacking dudes. They're not going to be super expensive. They're all throughout the Midwest. Go get you one. That's my.
I might throw Turntime there too for the first season.
Yeah, he can do it.
Yeah, you need a Georgia type of tight end to run 12 personnel. Yeah, and Georgia's really special there, but man, get me a for real blocker on top of that, but give me him for super cheap. All right, this is the position that everyone cares about. This is the one that like truly needs a major overhaul. And these are the keeps here. We already discussed Connor Robertson a little bit, but I agree here. I like our tackles, and Nick Brooks too is like trying to move him kind of to a swing tackle, but that interior is going to be the absolute key here.
Yeah, the one I could have put on here that I went back and forth on is Nate Kibble. Probably could have added him, but this is just a bad sign for where the room is. It's the most populated room in the program, where there's like 15, 16 guys in the offensive line room. And we're only talking about 4 or 5, maybe 6 at most. So that's, just a good sign that they've got to go to the portal. They've got to get immediate starters. They don't just need starters. They need depth. Lots of
good starters, solid starters.
Yep. And the good thing is, interior offensive linemen are not the most expensive. So just go look at, Kentucky had a passable offensive line with a bunch of transfers. Indiana's starting center is a transfer from Notre Dame that Texas probably should have looked at. There's offensive linemen are all over college football from the portal. Texas has to evaluate well, which, I don't know. But they need bodies. They got to throw bodies at the position like they did at D tackle last year.
Coach.
Yeah. I'm saying bring everybody in, then let them compete, man. Let the best 5 win, but let that second group be just as good as the starters. I know that's tough. That's a tough ask, but it's a position of need. That's what really costs you. I would say, especially the first couple of games or 8 games, and so whatever it takes. This is whatever it takes position. I mean, bring in anybody, bring in the competition, and like you said, offensive linemen hitting the portal left and right. So there's a ton of interior guys out there. You never know what you're going to get from Kojo coming back from injury, but. Man, go find you some tackles that can compete to start day one, and then find some interior guys that want to battle it out.
Yeah, I can't really talk about this position without also, touching on the coaching situation. We'll see what Sark does there. I mean, it was a bad job. It was a bad job by Flood in so many different ways. Talked about it all year long. Another thing I don't like is just the penalties, and it's not. They could try to blame a lot on the inexperience, but you can't blame the penalties because they were there the last couple of years as well with a very experienced line. It's way too many questions. We'll see what Sark does, man. That's like I said, it's a big December for him, decision wise. See, what Sark does in December has a massive impact, or what he doesn't. Sometimes he's had his coaches back that were under fire, and it worked out for him. He's been rewarded for that before. We'll see how this plays out. I'm not too certain.
Well, the modern game too is like, well, you need to select for pass blocking, and I agree in most circumstances. But the reason why they were able to tee off on our pass blocking because they weren't well coached, but also is because we couldn't do anything on first and second down, so we were constantly having to pass block on 3rd and 58.
Yep.
And so, look, man, get some guys that can run block so you're in 3rd and 3s and you can theoretically run and you don't have to let everyone tee off on you. And so that's a big factor. But also pick a style of run. So you can select athletes that are good. Are they good on interior runs? Are they more quick-footed on outside zone? Whatever. But you gotta pare down your scheme, because if you don't know what your scheme is, then you're not gonna be able to select the best offensive lineman and get the best value, even if you do bring them in. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some people speculate that they can move Brandon Baker to guard. I don't think Baker has the power to play guard. Obviously, be a good pass blocker, but you got to run the ball, man.
Yeah, and you cannot be in these third and longs, man. And that's also been a problem with Sark the past couple of years, anyways. Even when we did have NFL guys, so some of this is execution and coaching and play calling. But man, you saw what happens when you have no run game, and you got to maximize Arch. Arch had some run game versus Texas A&M. He was 48% completion, but everyone would tell you Arch played a good game. Yep. So like that's what can happen if you help him out. Edge. This room I was thinking about, but mostly it was I was just like, man, Lance Jackson at that Ethan Burke spot is going to be sick. But edge, all of them.
I mean, Lance Jackson's backup is going to be sick. Colton Bostic. Lots of there's a whole lot of snaps to go around with Ethan Burke, and Ethan Burke, what a freaking awesome year he had.
Yeah.
Really had the breakout that we talked about in August he might have. Great way to go out. But there's a lot of snaps now. Lance is going to eat a lot of them, but Colton's going to be there for him. The one thing I'm watching here, Neto is going to go to the portal. If I'm SMU or whoever, I'm trying to package Neto and Zena, and I'm doing all I can to get Zena, because Zena's a stud too. I hope he's back.
Yeah, Zena's the real deal. That's my thing, is that you're kind of cursed with this awesome edge depth, and some of these third string guys can start anywhere, So it's like those smart schools are going to offer them money and be like, hey, man, you can get 10 snaps a game at Texas, or you can come here and start and go to the NFL quicker. So
I was about to say, they rotate a ton. Then you see Justin Terry out there even playing edge, something like he's dominating. So it's like you got so many different types. You can play any style of defense. So your number may be called depending on who you're actually playing that week versus, smaller guys. I may need more size up front. We're playing a heavy running team. So all those guys get a chance to play. But man, you just need some NFL tape, some good NFL tape and less reps, and where your body's not as beat up. That's the goal. That should be the selling point.
Yep.
Let's see. Can we not forget what our offensive line was before Sark and Flood? Don't make good the enemy of great. We're trying to win a national champion. I don't care what it was. Like we need a higher level performance.
How could we forget? This year was a reminder of what those lines look like.
Exactly. But it's like, dude, good enough is not good enough. We're trying to win national championships. We need to go for it. Arch has one more year. Defensive tackle. Hero Kanu. What an awesome addition, man. When they were talking in this fall reports of like Hero's really balling out, all of us were kind of like analyst side, not Eric's side. Analyst side, we're like, I don't know, man, at Ohio State, whatever. Well,
no, I was like that with sources. I was taking notes with my eyebrows up, going, all right, and lo and behold.
Yeah, he's had awesome tape all year. We pointed him out. He's been fun in the press conferences too. So really, really love what we did for Hero Kanu. It wasn't like this it wasn't a sweat year or whatever, but it wasn't ever the interior defensive line that I was furious at. It was never Kenny Baker that I had any questions about, right? Like, so that room was just solid. And I thought that was awesome. So yeah, keeping, who do you have here? The young guys as well, Josiah and Myron. Yeah, I agree with this list as well. Good job, Eric.
Yeah, but I even want to keep Melvin Hills. He's a low-cost, big body. Murad Watson didn't have a great year. At times, he's got certain strengths, certain things he's good at, certain things he's not good at. He needs to get better taking on blocks and that sort of thing. But if you lose Murad Watson, you got to replace him. So don't lose Murad Watson, They're in a good spot for next year. They do need to add another guy or two. They're going to lose Vodney Cleveland on Wednesday. What I would do there is you still got a spot. Vodney was not going to be cheap. So go get a multi-year D tackle to replace him out of the portal rather than trying to replace him in high school.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Go find your grown man and go in the trenches to rotate in versus a high school kid.
They do need the one of the biggest needs though is a guy that's 340 pounds that can't be moved, because Hero, good player, not big. January is going to be that in the NFL. He's going to be 330 pounds of, well put together, but still needs a lot of lower body strength, I think. And so really they need to go get another Cole Brevard if they can find him.
All righty, guys. Linebacker, all of them. Yeah, we don't have much depth there. And then losing Anthony Hill is going to be a big factor. And then Leona, Anthony Smith, Bo Barnes. And then
Brad Spence, you got to figure Brad Spence in. Brad Spence is part of the all of them, whether it's at edge or at linebacker.
Yeah. And then who do we have coming in?
Tyler Atkinson, Kosi Okpala, who probably just needs to go be a buck. I would just put him at buck.
This is a portal position.
Yeah, and Rocky Cummings. So yeah, they got to go portal. We know that. Tyler Atkinson's going to have to play. He's really talented. He's going to be a point and shoot weapon his first year, kind of like Anthony Hill was. You don't want him reading and diagnosing a lot, I don't think. So they got to go portal, get an experienced guy. And this can be another one of your directional Montana State dudes that just knows how to diagnose the run. But you're going to have Ty Anthony and Leonga start, and so that helps. But you've got to go find somebody that can offer real depth and start in case one of these guys is injured, or Ty Anthony got that targeting call. You just never know. So they got to have somebody that's really good.
Hey, fans are going to come over here and vote for Marshall. I can't own mess his last name up. Is it Landweaver, the kid from Highland Park who got put on scholarship?
Landwehr, yeah.
You know what it is. This team, these fans love to root for the former walk-on man who got a scholarship. So who knows?
He's gone. So Shelby Bowden, like Bobby. Hill didn't walk on senior night. Just saying. The reason that he didn't walk on senior night was because he was a junior. And that's for seniors.
Yeah, he's not coming back. he's out. And he needs
Justin Wells is missing it here. I'd love a Diamante Tucker Dorsey. No, got to be better than that. It's got to be a guy that can start in the SEC. Diamante Tucker Dorsey would not do well taking on Alabama's guards. It's got to be a guy that can start. But
a lot of youth here. That's interesting, but this is going to be a contentious position with fans. And so it's going to be the personnel guys that know what these guys like backgrounds are. You're like, hell yeah. But also some on the field stuff, good and bad. So this will be a fun one over the offseason to hear people until portal hear people argue about. But Grayson Littleton, of course, Cade Phillips, really like that. Kobe Black didn't play a ton, but then shows up and makes some big plays versus A&M. And then the last name on the list is going to be a real fun one for fans, Warren Roberson. So what's the deal here, Eric?
Yeah, well, I mean, we know the staff loves him, so I might as well just keep Warren there. The staff loves Warren. They love his mentality. He does make some costly mistakes. Talk about plus minus. His plus minus is not great, but he's been pretty good at cornerback. He had that one really goofy penalty against Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
But he's coming along. It's just not, not everybody's on the same developmental curve. On one end, you've got Grayson Littleton, and another time you've got Warren Roberson, who's just taking a little bit longer, but they're starting to trust him more and more. That's four really good players, or at least Littleton and Phillips both have 3-year potential. Kobe Black, we always hear good things about him, and then it doesn't always manifest on Saturdays. It manifested on Friday. He looked really good. It wasn't just the pick. He made a great play on that pick, bailed on his area and went underneath it. But he also had a couple of really good firm tackles. Really liked what I saw. I hope that they can go get a Gavin Holmes type of guy. That has a talent to be a quarterback, third cornerback, but isn't going to cost a ton, because you've got to go into next season thinking Littleton and Phillips are your starters. And also screwed up here. I should have had Wardell Mack in this group. I wasn't thinking about Star, but yeah, I want Wardell Mack back because he's got a chance to start at Star.
Yeah, that's a good young group. I mean, like the first two up there, man. I think those are NFL guys up to 3 years. Maybe it clicks for Warren. I don't know, his 4th year. Kobe, he played with a ton of confidence on Friday, so hopefully, it's a trend. It's trending up that way for him. But you got so many young guys, I guess, in the room. I'm not sure what Santana Wilson. You got so many bodies in there. Where do these guys move around, and how do they go? Through the spring and off season, do they progress to like, hey, do we need it, or do we need a portal guy? So I don't know. It's interesting to see what you kind of do with the young guys.
Also, Dwayne Akina is going to be gone, so they've got to figure out. Maybe the new safeties coach maybe he runs a different back end. Maybe they go back to quarters, or who knows. At that point, you might look at the different types of defensive backs, or maybe that guy comes with somebody. You never know. It's going to be interesting to see how all that plays out, because you've got the variable of likely a new coach. Orfe's not going anywhere, the cornerbacks coach, but you could see movement at safety.
Yeah, and then safety, all of them.
All of
Yeah,
it.
you likely lose McDonald if you can keep him. Absolutely great, but Taft's out of here. Derek Williams, kind of a rough season, but Eric's pointed out, not all of that was injury and stuff like that. So with Akina gone, you could probably entice him to hang out a little bit longer. Jonah Williams.
Yeah.
Must keep. JJR sets a high floor. I agree. Didn't see him much this year, which was weird. And then
he's a good special teamer too, and they put a lot of value on that. Phil, to me, there's a lot of athleticism there. We probably didn't see him flash as much as I would have hoped. But if you look at this group in the spring, if Derek hits the portal, which I don't think would be a big surprise based on his amount of snaps this year, you got Jonah playing baseball, McDonald if he's off into the NFL. Taft gone. You've got a really thin room there in the spring, so they've got to go portal. But man, honestly, bringing back Jelani McDonald would be one of those big priorities. When you talk about hopefully having an Ohio State type of retention, McDonald is the guy that you think of. That would have been a guy that Ohio State would have been able to get back.
All right, 2 quick questions before we get out of here. Eric, impact of no spring portal window now.
Well, I haven't really thought about that a lot. People are going to have to be more firm in their decision, whether they want to go or not.
You also have to get it right, because you're not going to be able to correct it after spring ball.
Yeah, right. You have to load up. If you think you need, if you think you can get by with 3 offensive linemen, you better take 4 just in case. Where you can't afford to mess up, you've got to go the extra mile. I hadn't really thought about that. Obviously, you can't leave anything to chance, even more so.
And then Splendid Daddy, now TX Beats again. With such an insane HC carousel, can we expect there to be more availability in the portal than normal?
Probably so, just the sheer amount of coaches. And there's still going to be a lot of jobs that open up, because those guys, now Tulane has to get filled. Well, maybe maybe Charles Huff gets Tulane, and Southern Miss has a talented edge like Jamon Tapp. Texas doesn't need edge, but you know what I mean? Like, people are going to keep filling these jobs. Here's the thing. Schools have gotten better at retention. This cooling off period, I think, is going to keep some kids out of the portal when, there's 5 days before they can go in. So that you're not going to get as many emotional knee-jerk reactions. The Florida guy might meet John Summerall in person now and go, hey, you know what? I like this guy. Instead of having to go to a Wikipedia and learn about him there, you've got time to meet with the coach, interact with them, and do some more research. So that 5-day cooling off period, which I think is a good thing for the sport, not a great thing for a staff that's not going to lose its head coach like Texas, but it's a good thing if you're on the other end of it. But so that could keep some of the activity down.
All right, man. We're already in portal mode, and as we await to see our fate, CFB playoff announcement tomorrow. And then, of course, the final one after the championship games. But I don't expect much movement with the championship games that would actually affect Texas's fate. So I think we'll know kind of everything tomorrow there. But it's going to be fun, especially with the Lane Kiffin stuff, man. The whole point was to try to keep that from being a circus, and just turned into a circus. But didn't Tulane say they're going to let their coach keep coaching through the playoffs?
Yeah.
I know people feel like that's insane. To me, it's not insane. Like, it looks bad if he goes and loses. You get what I'm saying? Like, they still have the incentive to play out. I think you can play out the season, even with a competitor, especially because LSU is not in the playoffs. It's very different if you have to play LSU, right? Then you get into these conflicts of interest. But to me, I think you can let your coaches play out. But, I'm not an AD in that situation.
Yeah, it's a lot of pettiness going on.
Yeah. All right, guys. I want to see you over at Inside Texas. We will give you a full year for 50% off for Cyber Monday. So instead of buying that cheaper vacuum cleaner on Amazon, you know what you need to do. We would love to see you over there. Everyone have an excellent Monday. We'll see you soon in the next video. Later, y'all.